With your Tackle HD fishing report for Lake of the Ozarks, here's Jack Uxa.
What's going on, everybody? It's Jack Uxa here with your Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. I'm filling in for Casey Scanlon this week. Me and him are flip-flopping the next couple of weeks. He's in Mexico having a fun time, and I'm over here still grinding away. The bass fishing's been pretty tough here lately. I'll dive into bass in detail here in a minute, but I'm going to start off with the crappie fishing. The crappie fishing has been great. We've had excellent crappie fishing for a while now. It seems like bass fishing kind of took a turn 6 months ago, and crappie fishing got caught on fire, and it's still that way. A lot of times we'll see that until about May, and then the crappie go deep, the bass go shallow, and they flip flop. So crappie fishing has been great. I have been using this electric chicken color here lately, guys. This time of year, when the crappie get really active and they get shallow and they're in smaller groups, there's something about this color that works great. I've got on a 4-pound test. This is just my rod that I'm going to use to find them. I could shoot docks with this. I haven't been shooting a lot of docks in general, but this is just a rod that you could do everything with. It's a 6'6" light action, 4-pound test. You could cast it. You could cast it in the slips. Like I said, you could dock shoot. You could just cast to just random schools that are chasing shad. Do a little bit of everything with it. What I've been catching most of my fish with is the bobber again. This is a little bit longer rod. This is a 7-foot medium action rod. This is actually an ugly stick, which I'm pretty impressed with this thing. It's kind of been a while since I've used ugly sticks, and man, it's a nice rod for casting these bobbers. You'd be surprised how difficult it is to cast a bobber accurately, to these schools. And of course, live scope is helping us out too. I mean, for the most part, the schools, I've been fishing anywhere from, I don't know, the lower third of the lake, from the mouth of the Glaze to the Bagnell Dam area kind of zone. The water's clear down there. I haven't spent enough time in the areas that have got some dirty water, like the Glaze, the Nianguas, some of the upper Osage past Hurricane Deck has got some dirty water. Some of it's pretty clear. But I haven't spent enough time in those dirty water areas to really figure out what the crappie are doing over there. I know some guys are probably going to start to rack them up now that things have warmed up. Water temperature is like 50 plus degrees now. I mean, we've just skyrocketed in the last 10 days. It was super cold for the longest time. I mean, even this past weekend, we had some really cold days and some crazy windy days. But I guess that's part of the problem with some of the fishing too, man. The fishing's been all over the place. Like, you'll have some incredibly good days and then some incredibly tough days. I mean, we just go hours without a bite, especially on the bass side of things. They're really tough. The crappie have been more consistent, but still, it's not like you just go out and whack them every time. I mean, and I think that has to do with a lot of the weather. It's just been up and down and has not been consistent at all. And, that's typical for this time of year. We're into April now. Today was crazy warm. I got the whole, I'm hiding from the sun already. Got sunscreen on. Heck, it's the time of year where you got to have ice in your cooler again. So, like, all of a sudden we went from winter to summer. And I know it's not going to stick around. It's not going to be long-lived, but that's sure what it felt like today. It was nice. So the crappie fishing has been much more consistent. If you can't find them shallow, you can always go back out and find some deep. The thing about going deep right now is sometimes you'll run into a lot of smaller fish, or maybe keeper fish and some short fish. When you find them shallow, that's the juice. That's when they're active. They're better sized. There's a lot of 10-inch plus fish, and they're just, man, that's it. That's when they're really fun. A lot of times I'm following the wind. As long as it's not crazy windy. We've had some days 40 plus, so that's kind of hard to follow the wind on those days. But for the general most days, follow your wind, go where it's blowing. That's where you're going to find your active fish. You can find them on a secondary point, great. A lot of times it's just some random steep bank with some rock on it and a little bit of brush. Really, that's all they need. If they got some shad in the area, that's a good thing. But really it's electronics. It's following your electronics, learning your electronics, and it's once you get on them, they're easy. I mean, I've been throwing that electric chicken. I got this one here with the little blade on it here, a little bling bling, a little horse head spinner. That's a great bait for finding them too. I think they'll bite a variety of things as long as you present it the right way. When in doubt, I always put a little crappie nibble on there. I mean, it's hard for the crappie to resist this. There's times where, especially in the summertime when they get a little bit more picky, where if you don't have one of these things on there, you're maybe 50% of your partner next to you that's got these things on his jig. And you've probably heard this before, but a lot of times if I got a day where we're going through them quite a bit, we'll just take them, knock them out in the carpet a little bit, maybe a dozen at a time, let them firm up a little bit in the sunshine, and then they don't fall off the hook quite as easy, especially if you're dock shooting. Because if you're dock shooting a lot, casting underneath the docks, getting into those hard to reach spots, it's a fun way to catch them. I love doing it, but it's challenging if you've never done it before. But you can go through a lot of crappie nibbles. So let them soak out in the sun for a little bit before you put on your hook, and it'll save you a lot of time. So that's about it for the crappie fishing. It's been great. That's definitely the wise choice right now. If you're a recreational guy and you would just want to come down here and catch fish and have fun, maybe bring a kid or somebody that doesn't fish very much, that's the thing to do, no doubt. Now, if you're a crazy bass geek like I am, you like to challenge yourself, well, then we've got all kinds of bass fishing stuff and information here for you too. So I just fished the Anglers in Action tournament on Sunday. We had 10 keepers, felt pretty good, but let me tell you, you catch a 4-pounder and a bunch of 2+ pounders on this lake, and man, that's nothing. That's not good enough. They're gonna kick your teeth in with that. We had about like 45th place or something like that. We had 13.5 pounds. That ain't gonna do it, and we knew it all day long too. We had a 4.5. It was a 4.6 pounder early in the morning on spinnerbait, and the spinnerbait right here. You see, the paint's kind of worn off of it a little bit, but this is awesome spinnerbait, man. This thing's been around for a long time. Casey kind of brought it back to life. Tackle HD took it over, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm not putting any trailer on it. The only thing I did to it, I trimmed the skirt just a little bit. That's just because what I do. This is the 1/2 ounce version. They do have a 3/4 ounce version and a 3/8 ounce version, and they got a couple other colors, but I mean, this is just good old chartreuse and white. That's kind of what we all grew up fishing. And man, we had 10 keepers, we did all right. We had a good flurry in the morning, and eventually we had 4 for pretty quick in the morning, first couple spots. And then took a little while, and we got number 5 eventually, and then we kind of took a little while, and all of a sudden, in the afternoon we got on another roll where it's like bam, 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 we're culling, but we're not really culling like pounds, we're culling ounces, and we knew we were just one 3-pounder away from getting up there in that 14.5 pound range. We had 13.5 pounds, so if we would have had a solid 3, we would have gotten in check, but. The guys caught them. They earned it. We didn't find them very good. Neither me or my partner really had a lot of time to practice. We've been on the water every day, but doing a lot of crappie trips and doing stuff that's kind of more convenient for the average fisherman is kind of what I've been doing. So the spinner baiting, I was in some dirty water for that. I was in the glaze. We were kind of sharing a lot of water with other guys too. There was several people that figured that out. It wasn't anything crazy, earth-shattering news to go throw a spinnerbait in dirty water in, this late March, early April time frame. And it was okay. Wasn't perfect, but it happens. It's tournament fishing. There's a variety of things going on, guys. I don't know who won the tournament or what won the tournament, but the A-Rig is still a player. I know you guys are kind of like done with the A-Rig. I've been throwing it for several months now. This is my new favorite color, by the way. Luke Roth, he was doing the fishing reports, and he kind of talked about it, and he was right, man. This is the new good color. Smoke with a pearl belly. that's the deal right now. Blueback herring is still really good, but I'm kind of all about that right now with the dirtier water. This is another one of those spinner baits, the Ozark Flash. Jerk bait's still a player too, guys. I mean, this is one of the Tackle HD jerk baits. I did paint the belly of it orange. Hopefully you can see that. Just a white color. Shows up really good in the dirty, muddy water. There's still a jerkbait bite. There's still some shad dying. When you see a shad dying right now, it's a big gizzard shad. There's still some fish eating on that stuff. I don't know why their shad are still dying, but it's what's happening. There's definitely something that's hurting these fish in general, and it's making the fish a little reluctant to go up to the bank. So we've had enough warm weather and enough, warming water conditions and stable enough water lately to where you think they'd be on the bank. And they are at times. I mean, we caught several on the bank on the spinnerbait, but for the most part, they're not comfortable up there yet. And that's a big bummer. I mean, we've been waiting for it for a long time now. And, I am pitching this is just a Tackle HD crawl on a little Texas rig, like an 1/8 ounce weight. Sometimes you see some shallow wood. I'll pitch this around to some shallow water stuff, but the big push hasn't happened yet. We have a full moon coming up on Thursday, I believe it is. I'm hoping that's going to be pretty significant. I'm hoping that's going to pull a lot of them up shallow. The shad are all over the place. There's shad that are deep, there's shad that are suspended, and there's plenty of shad that are shallow. So there's no reason why that can't be shallow. They just haven't been, there hasn't been enough of them shallow. I mean, even throwing like a little Ned rig or something like that, you're not catching the little 8-inchers, the little bucks, what we call them. They're not running the banks yet. So, I don't know why. Maybe it's this full moon that's going to come here this week that'll pull them up shallow, and maybe they'll stay shallow. Certainly during the spawn, we're probably a little ways away from the spawn still, but when you talk about the spawn, you're talking waves of there's certain waves that come up shallow. Like, so there's a group that pushes up, stays up, eventually they have their babies, and the bluegills and the crappie and everything, they all eat on each other's little babies and stuff. So that helps them all move shallow. Well, right now, when you walk along the banks here, you're not seeing any life. You're not seeing bluegills. You're not seeing crawfish. You're not seeing much. Some areas are pretty dirty, but there's a lot of areas that are still pretty clear too. That Shawnee Bend area to Bagnell Dam, the whole Kaufman, Kaufman Beach and the Gravois area, that's all clear. If you want clear water, you can find that pretty easily. If you want dirty water, you can go find that pretty easily. It's all good. I mean, I've been fishing both of it. Bass have been kind of hanging out in the dirty water. The crappie have been hanging out in the clear water. Big thing is just move a lot. You got to keep on the move, and you will find these little pockets where it's like, man, this is the spot. This is like awesome right here. I'm not doing anything different here than I wasn't doing over there, but we just caught 6 fish in a matter of minutes, and a couple of good ones in there. So your spinner baits, your crankbaits, your moving baits, your like A-rigs. I'm not fishing A-rig deep over like 20 foot of water anymore. I'm just throwing it at the bank, and if it's got some wind on it, steep bank. We're moving pretty quick. I mean, these little crankbaits, this is a Tackle HD. This is very similar to a rock crawler. This is a great bait for, once again, moving and covering water. I will say this too, and a lot of you guys that hardcore bass geeks that are big tournament fishermen, you guys already do this. I do replace my treble hooks when I'm going to be fishing a tournament. If I'm just going to be regular fishing, the stock treble hooks are fine. They're sharp. Be careful for them. But if I'm going to be tournament fishing, we had $10,000 on the line on Sunday. And, get some Fusion 19 treble hooks on there. These are EWG style. Those are, they can make a big difference. I don't want you guys having stories of, man, I lost a big one. You lose a big one right now in these tournaments, man, things are so tight. You can't go losing if you lose by 1 pound or something, that's just unacceptable. If you lose them at the side of the boat, or you don't get a good hook into them or something like that, don't be that guy having excuses. It's just things are too tight. With these type of tournaments, I mean, we got 200 plus boats, and just about every weekend here at Lake of the Ozarks, I don't know how many weekends we've had that kind of large, tournament lately, but it's been, the BFL and this and that and this and that, and it's going to continue for a while. Here in a couple of weeks, we got that Big Bass Bash coming up. That's a big deal too. So, that's just around the corner. So start thinking about the Big Bass Bash. It's April 15th. Start looking at, the weather, getting the game plan together, and that's about it. I gotta be quiet here because this thing's gonna turn off. So tight lines, everybody.